Hello there, welcome to my channel. My name is Doug and I'm back with another Pen Resurrection Sunday video. And today's resurrection is this 1964 Parker 45 Flighter. The Parker 45 is the longest produced model of Parker pen in its history. They made them for an astounding 46 years. This one was made in England, and when I bought it at an antique dealer, it looked like it had been in a junk drawer since the 1970s. See how I made this flighter fly again right now. Today's fountain pen resurrection is a 1964 Parker 45 Flighter. And what I'd like to do today is look at some of the history of this pen, show some before restoration photos, talk about the restoration process, show some size comparisons, some measurements, and then provide a writing sample. Here is what the pen looked like when I found it at a local antique shop. We had a lot of Parkers from this store, and this is another Parker 45, and it looks like it's similar to a Flighter model, but that looks like it's a gold nib, and it has no cartridge with it. No black tassie, made in England, this one. So we'll see how that cleans up and whether it writes or not. That is a Parker 45. And you can see the pen was looking pretty grimy and beat up when I first got it. This is an interesting version of the Parker 45. It was not only made in England, but this particular version was also the first upscale 45 Parker made. And I've got it in a period appropriate case. And I'm using my white gloves because this is also a fingerprint magnet. In 1958, Parker pen designer Don Doman, who also designed the Parker 61 VP 75 T1 and liquid lead, developed the pen after the company bought the Eversharp Pen Company and used the Eversharp 10,000 cartridge pen as the model for the Parker 45. Parker wanted a new pen model that would tap the student pen market and compete with Schaefer for the low-end utility fountain pens. The new model was named 45 in direct reference to the Colt 45 Peacemaker revolver that was a staple of the late 50s and early 60s popular culture, with such TV shows as Have Gun Will Travel, Gunsmoke, and Bonanza. The pen used the new ink cartridge technology obtained from Eversharp, where an ink cartridge can be dropped into the pen as easily as loading your gun. The pen also had an available piston converter, so customers could use bottled ink. And that filling system developed by Parker in the late 50s continues to be the most popular fountain pen filling system used today. The innovations didn't stop with the filling system either. The semi-hooded nib was simplicity itself. Just unscrew the nib unit and replace it with one of your choice. And they had lots of choices, 39 in fact. From a fine oblique italic left foot 30 degree to a fine reverse oblique italic right foot, and everything in between. Parker soon realized they had a hit on their hands and added more upscale finishes to the Parker 45 line, and that's where this 1964 Flighter model comes in. The website Pen Collect has this marvelous timeline chart of the development of the Parker 45 Flighter series over the years. I can't find any information to cite the website properly, but I'll include the link in the description. It's really worth a look. According to the chart, this stainless steel Flighter with the black tassie arrived in 1964 and then is followed the next year by this Parker 45 Insignia gold-filled model with the black tassie. Towards the late 70s and early 80s, Parker added numerous metal finishes in patterns called Harlequin. Parker continued making the Parker 45 until 2006, when production stopped. An incredible 46-year run. So there are literally thousands and thousands of Parker 45s floating around out there. This makes them affordable and collectible, but not necessarily an investment. The great thing about the 45 is they're so well balanced and such beautiful writers, they actually compete and surpass some modern fountain pens. A cursory search of eBay just now yielded this Parker 45 brushed stainless steel pen for around $6 US. And I now have 4 of them. This one from the 1970s with a gold-filled cap and a gray body. A Parker 45 Classic with a black body and lustralloy steel cap. And of course this 1967 gold-filled Insignia. and now this 1964 Parker Flighter. Here are some photos of what the pen looked like before restoration compared with what it looks like now. The 45 is easy to disassemble and clean. The most taxing part of this restoration was getting the very dull and scuffed stainless steel cap and body shining like new again. I used a lot of this Autosol metal polish liquid, which is a product equivalent to semichrome. The nib unit, the nib and feed came off very easily, and I polished the 14 karat gold nib with my jeweler's cloth and soaked the section, feed, and nib collar in pen flush in my ultrasonic cleaner. Overall, the 45 is a slender pen that tapers at both ends. From the top, we see a concave top tassie that holds the Parker arrow clip in place. The clip is very springy and usable, and is one of the most recognizable pen clips in the world. The stainless steel cap tapers up to the almost seamless transition to the barrel. At the end of the cap, there are two engravings, Parker on the front and the Parker logo and Made in England on the back. There are no date codes. The barrel tapers down its length to the black plastic tassie at the end, which has a matching concave divot. The barrel unscrews, and the pen will take Parker cartridges, long or short, or a Parker converter. In this case, I've got a pen BBS converter in it because it uses the exact same bore size as the Parker. And you can see that barrel is engraved with H, H, and S Limited, some kind of a company name. The cap slips off to reveal the long tapering section of black plastic and the semi-hooded 14 karat gold nib and black plastic feed. All the information on these gold nibs is stamped into the nib, which is hidden by the black plastic hood. So here's a photo of the stamping on this nib. It says Parker 14K 585 for the gold content and Made in England. The back part of the collar is stamped with an X. If you can see it there, there's quite a bit of scratching, but there's an X stamped into the back of the nib, which is the nib grade, using Parker's 39 different codes. If there's no marking on it, it is a fine nib. This one is marked with an X, so it's an extra fine. The inside of the cap shows the clutch mechanism as well as a cap liner. The cap posts deeply and securely and makes for one of the most balanced and comfortable writing experiences I've ever had. The Parker 45 is simply perfection in pen design. Look how perfectly that cap posts. The non-flighter version of the 45 is slightly shorter and better balanced. Unposted, the pen is still very nicely balanced in the hand, and that long section allows for multiple grips. This particular section has some shrinkage to it. You can just see some variation in it. Like my steel version, these sections tended to shrink over time. And the stainless steel flighter is even more of a fingerprint magnet than the gold-filled insignia. Now let's look at some size comparisons. And here is the 1964 Parker 45 Flighter with a 1970s Parker 45 with a gold-filled cap. In 1943, Parker 51 Vacuumatic. In 1965, Parker 61. And a new Jinhao 85. The Jinhao 85 is a clone of the new Parker 51, and in my opinion, both the pens are failures. Now let's look at them posted. And here they are posted, and all of the Parkers show how brilliantly they post. I don't know why this is so difficult for other pen companies, but even Parker, here represented by the almost identical Jinhao 85, even Parker doesn't seem to be able to recreate the excellent posting they themselves perfected. And before you complain that Jinhao is copying Parker, Jinhao actually makes the steel nib version of this new Parker 51 for Parker. Now let's look at them unposted. And here they are unposted. And yes, the section on the Jinhao 85 is distorted. You can just see the distortion there. This is because I boiled it. I was trying to get that hood off of there to change that nib. But Jinhao, in an unusual move, actually epoxied that hood on there, so it's impossible to remove. Doesn't matter, the pen is awful anyway. Now let's look at some measurements, and I'll be back with a writing sample. And we're back with the writing portion of the review. This is Clairefontaine 90 GSM paper, and this, you notice I ditched the gloves. You can't hold on to this pen with white gloves on. This is the 1964 Parker 45 Flighter. And it has an extra fine 14 karat gold nib. And let's check the wetness. It's nicely wet and surprisingly smooth for an extra fine nib. And on camera, this is the first time I've had ink in this pen and written with the nib. So I'm delighted with how it came out. Otherwise, you wouldn't have seen this video, as I would have worked on the nib for a while and see if I can get it writing. But it's writing nicely right now. And sorry, writing is a right brain process. You can't talk while writing. And I'm very surprised at how much I like this extra fine nib. I'm not an extra fine fan by any stretch, but those of you that like extra fine nibs will love this one. Unfortunately, you can't have it because it's mine.
What's that?
This is mine.
What's that, Basil?
And the ink is Pen BBS number 392 Black Bread. It's a nice charcoaly kind of dark gray. And here's this Pen BBS ink on some Tomoe River paper. It is a very flat, no sheen, dark gray. And for some line variation, well, there's a little to be had here. And that nib is fairly bouncy. It's got a little bit of flex to it. This is very pleasant. I'm very surprised. When I saw that X on the back, I thought, oh dear, it's an extra fine. I'm not going to like it. I even thought about how am I going to replace that nib with something broader. But this is very nice. And the line this nib makes, according to my Richard Binder chart, is between, it's around a 0.4 millimeter line, which lines up with it being a Western extra fine as advertised, or a Japanese fine. And for our quote, and for some reverse writing. Well, that's working too. It's a lot scratchier, of course, a lot drier, but very, very fine. That goes down to a triple XF. And some people ask, why do you do the reverse writing? Sketchers like to be able to have some variety. You write with this line and then you turn it over and you get a much thinner line to do cross hatching with or detail work with. And also, because it makes the pen much drier, if the nib will reverse write, you can flip it over and write on cheaper copier paper without it feathering. And for some quick writing, actually, it's very responsive. So my thoughts on this 1964 Parker 45 Flighter and the restoration of the pen. It didn't require much restoration, and these Parker 45s, even the least expensive Parker 45s, are really, really easy to disassemble. You just unscrew the nib unit just like that, pull the little collar back, and the nib comes off. It's really, really easy to do. And so you get to clean all those parts out, rinse out the section, and screw the whole thing back together again, just like that. Really very, very simple to do. And they're inexpensive, uncomplicated. They take Parker cartridges, Parker converters, and pen BBS converters. So if you want writable, collectible pens, you can buy these in bunches very inexpensively, and they are everyday writers. And what's really pleased me about this particular pen is that the nib ended up being so wonderful a writer, even at the very, very needlepoint kind of size. It's the first extra fine nib that I've ever written with that I've actually enjoyed. Of course, the pen is a bit of a fingerprint magnet, and for people with OCD like me,
I'm obsessive compulsive. Yeehaw! 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeehaw! 1, 2, 3, 4.
that can be a bit of a bugaboo. But just carry a polished cloth with you and you'll be fine.
Penny, 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 penny.
What the hell is wrong with you?
So all in all, a very enjoyable pen resurrection. And there you have it. If you like this video, please like and subscribe, and don't forget to ring that bell to get instant notifications whenever a new video is posted. And please look in the description for a link to Goldspot pens, as I'm now an affiliate of the online store. And when you shop at Goldspot using my link, you'll be supporting my channel as well at no extra charge to you. You can also join as a member of my channel for only 99 cents, and I guarantee I'll answer your comments in the comment section, and you'll get cool emojis, badges, and sneak peek unboxing videos as well. And that just leaves it for me to say thank you for watching. And that's all she wrote.
I made this.